Hello, Lakers Nation. Welcome in. Happy Friday. It's Fun Friday. We're going to kick off a holiday weekend talking some Lakers basketball. Hope that you guys are having a fantastic day and you're ready for a fun weekend here. Welcome in those of you joining from YouTube, over on X, Facebook as well. Welcome in, everybody. We're going to talk Lakers basketball. There's a number of things that are going on around the Lakers right now. We need to talk a little bit about the coaching search, what's going on there. We also need to talk, of course, about the roster build and some things that we're hearing on that front, both in the positive and the negative. But a lot of stuff for us to get into. And guys, one of the things that I am particularly interested in getting into, it's the whole JJ Redick situation and what's going on there. Specifically, JJ being listed by Shams Charania as now like the official front runner to become the next head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, it could be something that takes a little while. I think if the Lakers do decide it's JJ Redick, it could just be a, hey, we're going to hire you, but we're going to wait until after the NBA Finals. And I've got joining me right now, it's my guy, Sean Davis. Sean, how you doing?
Doing all right. Yeah, excited to talk some Lakers basketball with you. How you doing, Trev?
I'm doing well. So I was just talking to JJ Redick. Shams had the news that JJ is like officially, he's met with the Lakers now and he's officially like the front runner for the Lakers job. I saw you had a response to the idea that JJ Redick wouldn't join the team till after the finals. I look at that and say, that's not ideal. That's far from ideal to have a coach hop in, because it's not so much the finals that matters, it's the draft. And you're so close to the draft. That's a concern for me. Do you share those fears?
Yes, exactly. Like I'm getting people in my comments saying, Sean, why is this bad process? I'm like, I thought it was pretty clear why it was bad process, at least from my vantage point. So I'm glad that you are saying the same thing that I'm saying there, because that's exactly why. I could care less about the finals. It's about, hey, from an organization standpoint, you'll be announcing JJ, okay, best case scenario the next day, right? If and let's say the finals goes long, right? Then the draft would be the week after the finals is over, if the finals is a 7-game series or something along those lines, right? Like, that's just really bad process, man, to do a press conference the next day. You're trying to get JJ involved on the updates with the draft, the prospects, and what might be going on with draft night. I just think it's bad process personally.
Now, I agree. I think that, I think that having a coach come in at that stage, not just because of the draft, but because of all the trade talks that are going to be going on at that point as well. Now, again, I would expect that he would probably be to some degree involved, but he couldn't be too involved, right? I mean, because if he's going to go on TV and talk about players on other teams, he can't be under contract with the Lakers. That's called tampering, right? You can't do that. So that becomes problematic. So he can't officially be under contract with the Lakers, but you also probably need to know not only, hey, what do you think of draft prospect X, Y, and Z and whoever else? You also need to know, hey, we're thinking about trading for this guy. Does this guy fit what you want to do? Now, maybe as a first-time head coach, JJ's not going to have that much pull to where he can say, oh, no, this is my system, and that guy doesn't fit my system. No, he's going to have to adjust to the personnel the front office gives him. But still, you want your coach to have a voice in that process. So that would be my concern. It would be walking a very fine line with JJ having a say, having a voice in the process, and not at all. And that could potentially be a big issue. I believe with bringing in JJ Redick. Now, another thing though that came up, and I just dropped a poll on this over on the YouTube side. JJ Redick, I was shocked. Guys, I was shocked. I mentioned this on the ideal offseason video that I did earlier today. I was shocked to see that JJ Redick did not list Anthony Davis on his first or second team all defense. First or second. First or second. So think about that. That means JJ, there's no positions with all defense. No positions. So it's not like he picked two centers ahead of AD and it was just a numbers thing. No. There's no positions on all defense. So JJ Redick not putting AD in his top 10. That's what this means. He didn't put AD in his top 10 defensively. Welcome back, Sean. JJ Redick did not put AD in his top 10 for the all defense teams. Is that a problem?
Really?
Yeah. His vote came out. All the votes are now public. And JJ Redick did not. He had AD and LeBron both on third team all NBA, which, whatever, right? But not listing AD on first or second team all defense. And now he's going to be expected, should he actually become the Lakers coach, he'd be expected to have the job of building a team around Anthony Davis post LeBron and winning with AD and LeBron. Right now, a team that has the backbone of its defense is Anthony Davis. And apparently JJ doesn't think he's all that good, not top 10 in the NBA. Is that an issue?
It could be. I would have to personally see his list to like evaluate how bad I think it is. Okay. It definitely could be problematic. I don't know. There's actually a way that JJ could spin it in a positive direction. And I don't necessarily know it, but like I can somewhat put together like a way where JJ could maybe put a positive spin on it. He's like makes a joke out of it, or like him and AD have a nice back and forth. It becomes like a competition or whatever this going to next season. But I would lean more towards I think it would be more problematic than it would be good.
Okay, so here is JJ Redick's ballot. Oh, no, wait, that's Defensive Player of the Year. Sorry, I need to find the all defense ballot.
Because I'm just like, who, if we're going, well, it's not, it's positionless now.
That's it. It's position. That's what I was just talking about. It's positionless. It's not like he can say, oh, I ran out of center spots. He's saying that he's not top 10. Like here's his list. Here it is. You ready for this? Bam.
Okay.
Wemby, Gobert, Caruso, Herb Jones, Jarrett Allen, Jalen Suggs, Derek White, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He put those 10 players. Those are the 10 players he put in front of AD. And let me ask you this then, Sean. Those are the 10 that he put ahead of AD. Does that make you question his judgment?
Why is SGA getting so much like defensive love? He's fine. He's not bad. But like I forgot who somebody voted SGA. It might have been Perk that gave SGA like an all, like not all, like a Defense Player of the Year vote, like second place vote. Maybe I'm making it up, but somebody gave SGA a Defense Player of the Year vote, if I remember correctly. Somebody had SGA second team all defense. Like, bro, what is up with this? And then Jarrett Allen is a bad one. And then KCP, come on, KCP's awesome, but those are the three that I very easily say, yeah, absolutely not.
The one guy had Domantas Sabonis.
Oh yeah, that's BS.
Like way up, like third in Defensive Player of the Year vote. I mean, just
fourth in MVP. It was something stupid.
There's some of these votes where you look at them and you go, "Oh my gosh." Like, why does this person have a vote? Like, clearly, this person isn't watching the game this season. Why do they have a vote? It's crazy. But
Z Warrior, I'm in agreement with you. I'm going to take my statement back because I thought there's a positive way you could spin it. But now, like, if I'm AD, I'm walking in that office, I'm like, hold on. Wait a minute. These three guys in particular are not better than me defensively.
And it can't be something where like, oh, I just forgot him or something. Years ago, there was somebody, I don't remember who it was, who left AD off of a ballot, And then it came out later that it was, she just admitted, she just said like, oh, and again, I don't recall who it was. She said it was my mistake. I screwed up. I didn't mean to leave him off. And, but he had him on his all NBA. It's not like he just forgot about Anthony Davis or something. That didn't happen. So this is, I was surprised when I saw that list, especially if he thought in any way that someday he could be in the running for the Lakers head coaching spot. I don't think it's defensible regardless. But if you know that you could potentially, that the Lakers are probably going to be moving on from their coach, and I'm going to be interested in that job, I don't see any reason why you would do that, because now it creates an issue. Right now it's got to be, well, what were you think? How do you actually see Anthony Davis? Because if you don't think he's that good, then what are we doing? We're bringing in a coach that needs to build a team around this guy in a couple of years. That, I don't know. That it's a little worrisome to me, Sean. It's not enough to where I'm saying I'm out on JJ. It's not enough for that. I think maybe he's got a defensible argument for why he did that, but still, it's enough to where you look at it and you go, huh, that's a little concerning right there. See, it's so concerning that it broke Sean's internet. It's so troubling. That's what happened. It's so troubling that it broke Sean's internet. He's trying to come back in here. All right. Let me get into some of your questions and comments here. Logan said, is there a probable deal where we get DeJounte without giving up Austin Reaves? Is there a possibility to get Caruso, given he's on an expiring deal? So good question. All right. Let's go here. I'll pull up. Let's start with the Hawks. We're going to go over to our favorite salary cap site, and that is Spot Track, because I know it's going to be accurate, because I know the dude that's putting it all together, and that's my guy, Keith Smith. So take a look at this. Here's the Hawks salary cap sheet. Now, this past season, DeJounte Murray was only making $18 million. Super easy number to trade for, right? Now he's gotten a bit of a pay raise. So now DeJounte Murray is sitting at $25.5 million. Okay. That's, again, not bad. I think I'm fine with that number for DeJounte Murray. I don't think that's an overpay. I don't think there's an issue with that. And then if we look over here, multi-year, we look at this through a few seasons. DeJounte Murray, 25.5, 27.5, 29.5. Then he has a player option for 31.5. So it goes up $2 million each year. I mean, 17% of the cap. That's how much he's going to be making. No issues with that one. That's a really good contract. I have no problems with that whatsoever. Now, where it gets tricky is this. So with the new rules that are in place for the salary cap sheets. Here's Sean. Hey, Sean, you're back.
Tried something different. I hate them doing it this way, but screw it.
Cool. Well, as long as you're here. So the question's asking here, DeJounte Murray, is it possible to get a deal done without giving up Austin Reaves? And this is where we have to start getting into the new tax tiers, the new cap tiers. And this gets, oh my, the NBA gets messy. It gets messy. So here's the deal. If let's say you are going to, if you're going to aggregate players in a trade. So let's say to get to DeJounte Murray, the Lakers, you're going to get it done without Austin Reaves. Okay. Let's say it's Rui and Gabe Vincent. I'm not saying that the Hawks would do that. I'm saying, let's say it's those two players. You combine those two players, 17 million and 11 million, that gets you 28 million. You're actually saving some money by going after DeJounte Murray. But you combine two players. Guess what? You're now hard capped at 189.5 million. Why? Because it's one of the penalties of crossing into the second tier that you can no longer aggregate players in a trade. You also are limited in terms of how much you can actually send out. You can't take back more money. Yeah, you can't take back more money in a trade than you send out. Otherwise, you're hard capped at 179 million, 179.5. which could be an issue for the Lakers. You look at the Hawks, it could be an issue for them too, with how much salary they have on the books right now. They're at 163 million on their books right now. So that wouldn't give them, they would have 16 million or so there to play with. But still, there's not a lot of breathing room considering they still have to build out the rest of their roster. They'd probably be okay. They're in better shape than the Lakers are. The Lakers are at 178 million already with D'Lo on the books. So the bottom line is that, yes, you could build a deal for DeJounte Murray. Probably the cleanest thing would be D'Angelo Russell opts in, and then you do a deal there, trading D'Lo and pieces. But again, you would have to send out more than you're taking back. Without Austin Reaves is the sticking point. And that's been the problem for the Hawks. That's why the deal didn't get done at the trade deadline. The Lakers wanted to do a deal without Austin, but I would assume, and Sean, you let me know if you would do this, if you went back to what you were talking about before the trade deadline, which is D'Lo, a contract, whether it's Gabe Vincent or whatever, and let's assume D'Lo opts in, and D'Lo's going to a third team that he wants to go to because the market was soft for him. D'Lo opts into that 18.7 million, but you have to include 2 firsts. Are you doing that?
Are we giving up 2 firsts to Atlanta, or are we giving up 2 firsts for that third team to eventually take D'Lo? No, I don't think that would be the case.
However you want, I don't think that would be the case. I think it's to Atlanta. The problem is Atlanta said, wait, we're not giving you DeJounte without getting Austin. Right. So what if keeping Austin means you have to part with a second first-round pick? You give up 17 in this draft, plus call it the 2029 first. Are you doing that for DeJounte Murray?
I mean, I guess I just don't feel great about it. I don't feel great about it. I think you eventually do it. Because then, I mean, it's the alternative, just especially in this world where we're trading D'Lo, you just let D'Lo walk. Like, that's not ideal. Right. Or even, I think you just do it. I think I would prefer this option over just completely losing D'Angelo Russell. You still get to keep Austin Reaves. Chat, in this scenario, it's keeping Austin as well. Austin plus 2 first. I'm probably saying no. But I'm just going to say yes. I'm going to say yes, I do it, and I turn away and forget that I did it because I just don't feel great about it.
Yeah, this is we are giving you something. We know you want Austin, but we really want to keep him, but we're going to offer you this. We're going to get, instead of Austin, how about we give you this extra first-round pick?
Yeah.
That's interesting. And again, I think the Hawks would probably stick with trading D'Lo. It would have to be a 3-team trade, but I still think, end of the day, the Hawks are going to try to trade Trae Young. I think that's going to be the guy they're going to try to move. But
Trae's contract is $43 million.
Yeah, which gets a little tougher. Is there a possibility to get Caruso, given that he's on an expiring deal? Sure. I mean, it's definitely possible. From what we heard, the Bulls wanted a ton for him last year at the trade deadline. I would assume the same would be true this year, this offseason. There's rational teams, and the Lakers haven't always been rational. They traded for Russell Westbrook. The Bulls, though, have a lot of people, a lot of teams around the NBA looking at them and going, what are these guys doing? Like, it doesn't
they need to hire
sometimes
Trevor
it's
Lane
hard to
Smith
trade
already.
with teams like that, right?
They need to hire you guys already.
That's what it is. That's what it is. We'll take over.
Bulls win the championship in 5 years after they trade all their good pieces to the Lakers and help the Lakers win one.
There you go. So, Sean, the Eric Pincus piece that came out just a bit ago for Bleacher Report, and Eric is great. He was on the front office show with us recently.
Yep.
He mentioned that the Lakers would ideally like to add pieces to LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and Austin Reaves. Should Austin be in that category? Should Austin be among those 3 guys that, hey, we're trying to build around these 3? Because that was what I saw raise some eyebrows among the Lakers fan base.
I think the reason why it's going to raise some eyebrows is because you are essentially putting Austin on a platform where you're saying, you're not. I don't want to use the word. Yeah, I'm gonna say untradeable or untouchable rather. Right, where like no, like to get Austin Reaves, the premium that's gonna cost to get him is gonna be insane, right?
Mhm.
Where I'm like, okay, cool. I love Austin. I've said a ton that if your worst case scenario for your point guard spot next season is that Austin Reeves is your point guard, hell yeah. Like that's that for me at least. That's a really good worst case scenario. Like Atlanta
Mhm.
wants too much for DeJounte. You can't get Trey. Donovan Mitchell resigns or somebody else outbids you. You miss out on Laurie Market, etc. Any like third star option. If your worst case scenario this summer is Austin's our number one, is our point guard next year, sure, why not, right? But at the same time, that is not where I think it needs to be. Where you say, oh yeah, Austin's untouchable. Like, it's going to cost you, hell to get Austin Reeves. Like, no,
Sure.
that's a bit much. But I understand the logic a little bit. Like, hey, I mean, kind of just go back to what I said. Like, $12 million player that's really good, has been for the past 2 years now, really freaking good with the ball in his hands. And like I said, if he's your point guard next season, that's not bad. And that could actually kind of help out with the roster build too. If your starting point guard makes $12-ish million, like on a cost control contract, and we're in reality, Trevor, if you had to say right now, Austin Reeves had played, I don't know, 7 years in the league, right? 7 years in the league with this level, like what would his contract be? Are we talking like 20 million? I'm trying to think like
Yeah.
what for a normal player Austin's value would be money wise.
Yeah, probably 20 plus is what he's getting. If he's like a consistent role player in the league that can step up in some big moments, sure.
Yeah. So like it's still, regardless of how folks think Austin underperformed or whatever word you want to use for Austin last season, he still is like severely outperforming his contract. Like $12 million, and he's at least valued at probably 20 for a normal NBA player that's doing what he's done. So I understand some of the thinking behind it. And I understand why they want to prioritize Austin a ton. But at the same time, I would say, all right, look, we're building around LeBron and AD, and we really, really want Austin to be a part of that core while not attaching his name to that, if that makes sense.
I think, and I did in the ideal offseason video that went out this morning, I had Austin going out, but it was a trade for Donovan Mitchell.
I gotta be on one of those. I don't think I've done one of those with you yet.
Yeah, we need to do one. That was just the first. We're going to do a bunch of them. That was just the first one, just breaking down, hey, 3 stars and Donovan Mitchell is the guy, right? But we should do we'll do some other, we'll do a depth one and things like that. But yeah, I mean, I think the Lakers will trade him, but only if it's like a Donovan Mitchell, a top tier all-star guy. Like if it's DeJounte Murray, I don't think they're going to do it.
No,
I don't think they're going to do it. Ricky
Trae Young, do you do it?
No. I don't think I do. Well, it depends on what else is going out in the trade. Like if we're talking, you have to go all in. That's what I'm thinking. Like you have to go all in to get him. Ricky said if Derek White is getting paid 18 million, Reaves ain't worth more. Let's be real. You're talking about another guy who's underpaid relative to his production.
Derek White's also underpaid.
Like
Derek White's probably a $25 million player right now.
Right. Yeah, that's the problem. Like it's not, you don't look at Derek White and go, oh, he's paid appropriately. No, he's also underpaid relative to what he does. Unfortunately, does for Boston. Smokey said, just a look for the future. Let's say the Grizzlies draft a small forward. Should we try to get Zaire Williams on the roster? I think he can be a potential McDaniels guy. I don't know if I would go that far to where he could be. I mean, that's a pretty high bar.
Guy is a little bit far.
Right.
I get the logic.
But I don't mind Zaire. I mean, he's super athletic. He can do some things for you. Like he's a guy where I'm not pulling out the stops to go get him. It's not like I'm hell bent on great. But if you could get him in a deal where you're adding some other pieces, sure. Yeah, I wouldn't have a problem with him as a target.
I think for Memphis to draft a small forward, the board would have to fall a certain kind of way, a way that I don't think it's going to. But Zaire Williams is fun. One of the reasons why Memphis I think deserves to be talked about a bit more. for next year. I think people are
Yep.
forgetting how freaking good Ja Morant is when he's healthy.
He's really good. And that's, that just goes to show that the West is going to be brutal. Absolutely brutal. Next year. It's going to be even worse.
And then
It'll be
I think we
even
always
worse.
forget that Utah for the first month and a half of the year actually tries. So we're all penciling Utah as a team that's not going to make the playoffs.
Mhm.
But for at least the first 2 months, they're going to try. And then they're like, all right, let's tank.
I used Utah as my dumping ground for Gabe Vincent.
I have to go watch the video now. So three-teamer then?
It could have been, but I did it as separately just to keep it as simple as possible.
Okay.
But yeah, I used Utah as a way to dump salary because otherwise I would have hit that hard cap.
use
The
2K to
JJ
do
voting thing shouldn't be a factor. This comment says we're making it a bigger deal than it should be. So on the poll that we're running right now on YouTube, 58% of our voters said JJ Redick not putting Anthony Davis in first or second team all defense is a problem. 58% have that. Up 59 now. A few more people voted yes. So I don't know. I don't think it stops him from hiring him, but I think it's a conversation JJ and AD probably have at some point. Like, who was it? I want to say, I think it was Larry Nance Jr., who had something that he put out on Twitter that was like anti-Kobe. And then it got brought back up right after he got drafted by the Lakers. Somebody found it. And it became something where like his first
Stuff like
meeting
that's
with
different,
Kobe.
though.
Well, yeah, it is different. It is different. But if JJ were to suddenly become the coach, like it's just a conversation he would have to have. Just make sure, hey, it's all good and we're moving on.
He would just have to explain Jared Allen, SGA, KCP.
That's it. No big deal.
I disagree with the other ones, or some of the other ones. Like Bam, I disagree with. I'm trying to remember the list off the top of my head. Some of the guards, while it's somewhat justifiable, I get because like they were great, but I think 80's impact is a big what he does for the team's defense. I think it's a little bit more important. But yeah, like we need to have a conversation about Jared Allen.
Yeah, my God.
I'm just crapping on Jared Allen for the whole show. No disrespect to Jared Allen.
If that's how JJ views Jared Allen, Rui, JHS, and a pick for Jared Allen.
No.
You're no?
No.
You wouldn't do it?
And I think we've had this conversation. They're not going to play together in the fourth quarter.
That's the problem. That's the problem.
But Jared Allen can shoot, wake me up, and we'll have this discussion.
Yeah. I like Jared Allen, but that's the problem. He's playing them together. I think you need your big, whoever that big is. And I agree. I've got a lot of people that say, oh, you need to get bigs. 100%. You absolutely do. I think you need bigs that you don't have to play. Jared Allen's salary says you're playing him. You need bigs where you can say, well, tonight we need you. Oh, tomorrow night we don't. Somebody said, come on, man, he has an afro. What does that have to do with it? So did Ben Wallace. And he was like one of the greatest defensive players we've seen.
Worst mistake was not trading for Miles Turner. What do you think about that? Do you agree?
Hindsight being 2020, I've gone back and forth on it. Like last year in the playoff run, I was like, no, they made the right decision. They saved a first round pick. They got D'Lo. They got Vando. They got Malik Beasley. Now Beasley's gone. You didn't get anything for him. D'Lo might be on the way out, and Jared Vanderbilt didn't play this past season, essentially. So, like we only saw the real Jared Vanderbilt, I think, for maybe 5 games. So it's harder to not look and see what Miles Turner is doing with the Pacers and think about how great that would be with the Lakers, about how well he would fit next to AD. And would that have been worth 2 firsts? Hindsight's 2020, and it's difficult to say. What is Buddy Hield on the Lakers? Is he the terrible version of, well, I shouldn't say terrible, not as good as you would expect version of Buddy Hield that we saw in the 76ers? Or is he the version of Buddy Hield that was with Indiana that was pretty good, that could put up points in bunches and shoot and do all those things? I think ultimately, if I could turn back time like Cher and and change it, I think I go back and I do the Buddy Hield Miles Turner trade before that season started, rather than wait till midseason and do the D'Lo and Vando and Beasley trade. I think
Bryce Simon in the chat says take that swing on Khalil Ware in the draft. I
this is my guy, Bryce.
Yeah, Motor City Hoops. Yeah, shout out to Bryce. Had him on the show.
He does some great stuff over on the
show.
Basketball Bulletin.
Yep, shout out to Bryce. So I haven't talked to Bryce. I don't know if you talked to him about Khalil Ware. My thought process like Khalil Ware is I like the idea more than I like the player right now. Even though if he's there at 17 and they took him, I would be completely fine with it. Right? Because you would just have to answer to me the questions about your motor. And I would I still think he needs to just bulk up just a little bit. Right? Where I think he is
that happens with age.
That happens with age. That happens with like getting him in there to an NBA. Bryce response, I emphasize swing. All right, never mind. I'm with because again, the idea of Khalil Ware is so freaking fun. Like you upside, that's Miles Turner. For me at least. My upside, that's Miles Turner, 7-foot freak athlete that it's a great weak side shot blocker. Really good, like just pick and pop guy that can finish around the rim. Really nice touch. And yeah, the motor questions are real. We talked about this. I think sometimes draft analysts and teams overanalyze motor and like, oh, this guy has tough motor or bad motor, and you talk about it the entire draft process. With Khalil Ware, it pops out pretty early and pretty often on film when you go watch him. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. That was immediately my first reaction when I watched him. So, but if they took the swing on him at 17, I wouldn't mind it necessarily. That's if they keep the pick, of course.
If they keep the pick. What do you think the odds are? If you to put a percentage on it that they keep the pick?
20.
That's probably about that was what it was in my head too. I think most likely they trade it. But if they don't, I thought they were going to trade last year's pick though too. And then they didn't.
I was more confident that they were going to keep last year's. Although I still probably would have told you they traded, but I was more confident last year they were keeping it.
Yeah. All right, let's take a look at this one. Why are we assuming Rui is back? He's proven to play too soft and not show up. We need grit and tenacity. 17 million, I'd split with two players or try to trade Dorian Finney-Smith, Gary Trent Jr. Gary Trent Jr. is going to be a free agent this summer. So there's that. But I don't know, where are you out on Rui? Because I had Rui, I did the other day. We listed out players and listed out because JJ Redick and LeBron were talking about how they need 7 or 8 like playoff players, right? That's what you need on a team to win right now, right? That's what he said. And everybody took that to mean, okay, that means depth. And LeBron specifically said you need 1, maybe 2 stars. Interesting. But I had Rui as like is he a playoff guy or not? As a yes, if he's coming off the bench. If you're bringing Rui off the bench, he's a guy that can come in, that in a playoff game could drop 15 points. And if you're not asking him to chase a starter around like Michael Porter Jr. through screens off ball, right? If you're not doing that, then you allow him to really shine. And in that situation specifically, I would put him in the yes column as yes, he's a playoff guy. JP says he's too soft and he doesn't show up.
Sure.
Where do you stand?
I don't think he's too soft. I don't think he doesn't show up. I think this year was a really bad playoff run for him. But I want to touch on really quickly the LeBron depth comment. You need 7 to 8 stars in your roles or whatever. And the 7 or 8 guys have to really, and I guess like that's what Bron said. I think that's just easier said than done, right? Like, sure, in a perfect world, 7 or 8 guys with 1 to 2 stars is all you need. That's what they had in the championship year, mind you. That's what Minnesota has currently, I would say. That's what Dallas has. Like, it's just easier said than done. I mean, obviously, unfortunately, the Goons and Green have that. So, and that's why I just think that they're going to go a third star in air quotes. And that just depends on how you view guys like DeJounte, for example. I think what really kills Rui is, and why I view him as a guy that I think should just be gone, unless you're like fully utilizing him in that off the bench role that you're talking about.
Yeah.
is that you can't start him with Braun because they play the same position. And then you get into a situation like you did against Denver where it's, all right, who's guarding Michael Porter Jr.? Like, what are we going to do there? And who's going to chase him off ball? And Rui's also just not a good rebounder. There was like a 2-week stretch after everybody had the comments about how he'd be better at rebounding or whatever. And Rui really was at the forefront of that. And he had some really, really good moments. He had like a 2-week stretch where he averaged 7-ish rebounds. I was like, oh, okay, this is new. I'm not used to this from Rui Hachimura. And he has that 2-week stretch. Like, let's go. Hopefully this is a sign of something to come. And then he just fit and he goes back to what he had been on the rebounding side. So I would be more in favor of moving Rui, trying to get somebody that just makes more sense for this roster, whether it's point of attack defense, just more consistent spot up shooting from three. Or I don't use the word consistent, more volume on spot up threes. I feel like Rui is good, but probably doesn't shoot as many as he should for a guy that you want to put next to Braun and AD. So that's my thoughts on Rui personally. I disagree with the too soft part though.
I think I'm with you. I do think from a cap perspective, I think if the Lakers are going to do something big and not include Austin, I mean, depending on what D'Lo is very much up in the air, so you kind of land on Rui as being the piece that probably has to go out. Let me ask you this though: what if I told you next season Jared Vanderbilt will be healthy for 82 games? Does that solve the problem? Because then Vando starts in Rui's spot.
Sure, in some ways, it's not a simple fix. But also, like Sebastian says here in the chat, like Rui is one of your best contracts to move, right? Rui, $17 million. That's just one, like, quite frankly, one of your easiest contracts to move. So I think it does fix a lot of your problems, right? I think, let me ask you, if you had to put a percentage on it, how likely do you think it is Rui's back?
I mean, it sounds like a cop-out, but really 50-50. I think they like him. I don't know if other teams around the NBA value him the same way the Lakers do. Okay. But again, I think if they're going to make some type of significant move, if it's not a superstar trade, Rui's probably going to be involved just because of the math.
I'm at 30 for the exact same reason, but I think it's just I'm putting more of a value on. They're going to make a move. I really don't think that they're going to run this team back at all. And I just look at how much you're going to need his contract because I'm preparing for the dark timeline, if you will, where D'Lo opts out for nothing and he walks. And we know how much they value Austin. So they're going to try their damnedest to make sure that they keep Austin, right? Gabe Vincent's contract is a negative in the league. So you need something of like some value to add to that. And I think Rui is just the only other guy, considering how much they value Austin. So I'm at 30% that he's back. I really think he's traded.
All right, let's go. Let's go here. I might consider no longer being a Lakers fan. Ooh, man. This guy's either really serious or a bit dramatic. If they do not hire an experienced coach,
maybe both.
And at least one defensive big so that AD can play the 4. Okay. The experienced coach thing. I wonder, does an assistant count? Does that count as experienced?
Right.
Because if not, then we're in some trouble. If being an assistant doesn't count, then we might be in a little bit of trouble, unless it's James Borrego. By the way, Sean, interesting that the Cavs being on the market, the guys they're interested in are James Borrego, Kenny Atkinson. Interesting that but interesting that JJ Redick's name doesn't pop up. Maybe that's because they already know what's going to happen.
Okay, I was just about to ask you, like, interesting in which way?
Interesting in that, like, the other teams have interviewed JJ, right? He's been on the list for other teams. Why is it suddenly the Cavs pop on the market and JJ isn't on the list for them? At least based on what's been reported. Maybe there's already...
Did Washington interview JJ?
I think the Hornets did.
No, Charlotte.
I don't know. I shouldn't... I don't know
Charlotte
for sure.
Finalists were Chris Quinn, Charles Lee, and JJ, if I remember correctly. Maybe it was a Chris, but I know it definitely came out of JJ and Charles.
Yeah.
Damn it, boss! You just had to hire Charles Lee. Come on, man.
Um,
Could have made this a lot easier on us.
oh, Hornets. If they don't hire an experienced coach, I think there's a pretty good chance that they don't. I think there's a pretty good chance it winds up being JJ Redick. But the defensive big thing so that AD can play the 4. I've got people telling me Anthony Davis is a power forward. Anthony Davis is not a center. Anthony Davis needs to play the 4. You need to go get a center to force him to play the 4.
Who is the center?
That's just it. Who is it? Who is it that you could put out? I mean, Miles Turner, he fits. That's the problem. It has to be a center who shoots threes, and there's not that many of them.
It has to be a center that could stretch the floor while also not losing any of this defensive value, exactly. Like at the rim. And also the problem with that is now you're making LeBron a 3. So if you are in a Denver Nuggets series, LeBron's guarding Michael Porter Jr. by default, which can't really do. If AD is the 4, then you have to have a floor spacer, right? And those aren't as common as people that like. Thank you, Bryce. Like it's not as common as you feel like where you say, like, okay, Kristaps, Miles Turner, Naz Reid, those are very easier said than done. And then again, like you're making Bron a 3, which I just think at this stage of his career, you want to hide Bron as much as possible. Not hide him, but like you don't want him chasing around all these off-screen actions. Right? I'm thinking about Denver still a lot, right? And when I put AD on MPJ and keep Bron, because you're not utilizing AD at all at the way they should be utilized. You don't want AD chasing around screens.
AD on MPJ chasing around the perimeter?
Yeah, no, that's not ideal either. So that's what I'm saying, right? Yeah. It's just not in any way, unless your 2 is 6'7" and that can navigate screens well. But in most cases, that's not going to be reality, right? Like,
so your 2 is Danny Green, essentially, is what you're saying.
Yeah. So you insert 2013 Danny Green on this team, and you get Miles Turner. Sure, maybe, yeah. Then let's check ball, but that's not reality. I've seen AD guard Steph stop it for a whole game. No
possession.
Yes,
possession is what, like, you get in a switch situation, sure, but but that's different than all game. You don't want to do that.
And he doesn't want to do that. That's not fair to AD.
All of this is why I ultimately land here. This person is right. The Lakers need a defensive big so that AD can play the 4 when the situation requires it. The problem is when I get people saying, oh, no, you need Anthony Davis has to play 90% of his minutes at power forward. That's very difficult to do for all the reasons that you listed. What you need is the option when the situation calls for it to be able to play another big next to Anthony Davis, because that allows AD to be what makes him great, that he can play either position. Now, he hasn't shot the ball as well lately, so that takes away from that. In fact, he hadn't shot the ball well since 2020, at least from behind the arc, so that's not good. But you want to have the option. You don't want to have the requirement. You don't want it to be a must that you have to play AD at the 4. You want the versatility. You want the flexibility. And you're only going to get that if you have that big that is a defensive big that is not somebody who eats up so much salary that you have to pay them. So, like, I like Goga Bitadze from the Magic. Add him. Get one of the bigs out of the draft, whether it's Kelly Ware, Zach Edey, whoever is it. Matt says keep 17 and draft and draft the person to put next to AD. That would be a problem.
Draft the person.
Draft the big.
That is hilarious. I was gonna let you go so I could hear. I think it's Bona, Adam Bona. That's how you pronounce it.
Right.
That's hilarious. Trevor. There's a saying, like, one good laugh a day can help sustain your life and make it longer or whatever. You just did that for me. Thank you so much, my friend.
You're welcome. It's what I'm here for. I'll be here all day or for the next 15 minutes or so.
Jeez.
But what do you like? Do you find a big in the draft? Whoever it is, it's got to be somebody that doesn't have to play 30 minutes a night. That can, if the situation requires it, but isn't a 30-minute a night guy, because you want the flexibility to move AD around.
And that's why I think Khalil Ware, if you do stick a pick, that's one of the biggest, perks I think of being able to stay at 17. Again, I think they moved the pick, but Khalil Ware, Deron Holmes, I'm really coming around to recently. The really fun prospect in my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Those are Eves Missy, not necessarily a guy you can play next to AD a ton, but just backup big, prototypical, good screen setter, lob threat, freak athlete. Like especially those three dudes, man. I think it would be really, really enticing. And then, don't start talking. Bryce agrees with my Deron Holmes speech. But yeah, I think those three guys, especially Holmes and Khalil Ware, have the most playability next to AD, which is important in my opinion. And that's why I would be in favor of potentially, sticking and picking at 17. Did somebody said Bronny at 17? Did you see the Suns are working out Bronny?
Mm-hmm. For 22.
I will die of laughter. Tyler Smith's also another good one. I will die of laughter if the Suns take Bronny James at 22. Like that would be unreasonably funny if they take Bronny James at 22.
Well, like Rich Paul he put out there that he could go 20 to 40, he could go 30 to 50, he could be undrafted, like basically saying he's everywhere across the draft board. That was interesting, that interview today. But I think, look, Phoenix isn't a terrible landing spot for Bronny. If they get him in like the second round, like then he's still close to family. You just drive down the 10 and off you go to get back to LA. But if they draft him at 22, that's crazy. That's crazy.
It's gonna be fun doing my draft grades after the draft, and I put the big fat F next to Phoenix for that pick. F might be harsh, probably D. I don't know. It'll be a bad pick.
It's pretty rough. All right, let's get to this. Chef Lev said, good judgment is important to coaching. Reddick's views on AD are troubling. If he does not see AD's value, what other red flags are there? I mean, the lack of experience. That's the biggest one, right?
I more so just want to know what his thought process behind it. Like, honestly,
sure.
Like that's really just what I want to know. Like, some of the names I can get by. Like I said, Bam Adebayo, I get it, right? Bam, I understand. I mean, who else? Let's see. Who else did you say was Giannis? I'm assuming was above him.
No. It was
okay. Bam, Wemby.
Here's the. Let me see. Here it is. All right, it was Bam, Wemby, Gobert, Caruso, Herb Jones, Jared Allen, Jalen Suggs, Derek White, KCP, SGA.
So the Bam, Wemby, Rudy Gobert, even like okay, I can kind of understand. I personally disagree with the Bam one, but I understand, right? Because Bam is a really, really good defender. Also underrated in a very similar way that the AD is defensively. Both really underrated for what they do for the team's defenses in different ways. But if I'm AD, I'm saying, okay, cool. Well, Bronny, I mean, not Bronny, crap. JJ, what, Jared Allen, right? SGA, I can't even think of the other one now off the top of my head. KCP, especially.
Yeah.
So I just want to know what the thought process is, because that might be his decision, but also like how well can you back up your decision? Because there's going to be times during the season where you have to say, all right, cool, you want to do this thing schematically, or what's your reasoning behind it, right? And I might disagree with it, right? I'm probably going to disagree with it, especially if it's stuff like this. But like, how well can you explain yourself to like get me to buy in to what you're trying to tell me, right? And now this is a little bit different. You're not going to get me to buy in on thinking that I'm not better than a lot of these dudes as a player, but just like the thought process and the reasoning there, I think would be important.
All right, let's go here. I think it's weird he doesn't value AD's defense, because without it, it's a fire sale out or around the bucket. Oh, yeah. The Lakers are a disaster defensively without AD.
Having some troubles with my synergy recently, which is why I haven't finished the breakdown yet. I was going to tell you that afterwards, but since the super chat breaks it up. But I will say that through like my research, like watching the film or whatever, first off, last year's defense was like some of the most unorganized basketball I've ever seen. And we knew it was bad during the season, but I was also really focused on the offense. So I didn't, and when you sit there, you're focused on one thing. You don't really like get to, you see all the problems like really elevated in a sense, right? And I'm like, yeah, bro, if AD, I think per cleaning the glass, the Lakers for the season were 16th in opponents' points per 100 possessions. They are easily bottom 5 without AD. It's some of the worst defense I've seen from an organization standpoint. There now you have to hear the words that, you know, good defenses are on a string. That's the exact opposite of the Lakers last season. They were not on a string whatsoever.
They were the Lakers defense. They were a jumbled ball of yarn, not like a string. They were just all over the place. Yeah, it was not good.
You got your buddy Stu the studio cat excited when you said ball of yarn.
Yeah, he is. I kicked him out. That's right. He was being a problem, so I kicked him out for a little bit. I know, but he was being a problem. He was starting to try to eat things, which is not
Everybody
good.
put hashtag we want Stu in the chat.
He is down stairs, I think, right now. Let's finish with this because I think it's funny. And the other super chats I didn't get to, guys, we'll put them on the next show. This one says, you are the ultimate poop starter. Yes, that's what I'm known for. Hot takes and just saying crazy stuff so people will get upset. That's what we do here. AD took a lot of games off, scoring 10 points, and he said, give JJ a chance, scoring 10 points one game and 30 points the next, and got bounced around all season long versus Sabonis and Jokic. Okay.
Did we now watch the playoffs?
I think this is funny because you juxtapose it with this. Where did it go? Okay. There was another comment that said, F you for wanting JHS.
JJ.
Oh, JJ. Right. That was another comment that we got.
I saw that.
We love you guys. Okay. So it's funny because on one hand, well, first of all, we didn't want JHS.
There's video evidence of me doing a whole video saying I don't want JHS. I don't think he's a good fit. And then on draft night, if you watch all of our reactions to the JHS pick, I think Keith is excited because he called it. My reaction is I just throw my head back in frustration. So stop the JHS BS. I'm so glad you caught that.
It's funny, but it's funny because we were saying don't draft JHS. And then afterwards, you try to make the best of it and say, okay, well, this is the path where it could work out and all that sort of stuff. Obviously it didn't, at least not so far. And then saying, give JJ a chance. So like if we were in support of JHS, people would be mad at us, but then we get other comments where people are saying, oh, you're not giving JJ a chance. Why are you so anti-JJ? It's funny the way that works, but I'm not anti-JJ. Not anti-JJ Redick. I'm not trying to say anything. I think that these are things that could potentially be issues. I think we're being disingenuous if we don't say, hey, maybe the coach of the Lakers left Anthony Davis off of his defensive player or all-team defense vote. Didn't have him in his top 10 as a defensive player. I think maybe that's an issue. I think bringing up that JJ Redick has no experience as a coach, it's a fair issue to talk about. Does that mean I don't like JJ Redick? No. But it's the same thing as can we talk about, hey, Russell Westbrook doesn't shoot well from three. Does that make you a Russ hater for saying that? No, it's true. It's something you have to factor into your analysis. So JJ Redick having no experience, JJ Redick not putting AD in his top 10, could that be a problem when AD sees that and is already kind of upset that he's not getting any love for Defensive Player of the Year? Maybe. Those are fair things, I think, to talk about. And again, that doesn't mean we're anti-JJ. I think if he's the coach, I hope he's the coach for the next 10 years because he's so awesome, because he does such an amazing job and the team reaches new heights. That's what I want to see. And then as far as AD taking a lot of games off and scoring 10 points, that's not all on AD. Sometimes there were games where you needed AD to be a little bit more aggressive, but there were a lot of situations too where the team wasn't giving AD the ball, or where teams were doubling AD and then he was making the right decision and passing out of that, and other people were scoring and then AD was putting up 10. So it's, look, you can certainly be critical of Anthony Davis, but in no way is this like us trying to stir things up about JJ Redick. These are like real things, and I have no motive to do that, to create any kind of backlash against JJ Redick or anything like that.
So, two things really quickly. One, I would absolutely, this is actually a question, I'm not being disingenuous here. For anybody that is super pro JJ Redick, right? I would love for you to explain why. I would love to explain why. What sets JJ Redick apart for you? Number one, because I've not heard a real reason why somebody would say, I really want JJ Redick to be an next head coach. And again, we're not anti JJ Redick. We just have some concerns about JJ as a potential next Lakers head coach. And I think there are just other dudes better. There are better candidates from the outside looking in, right? We are not in the interviewing process. We're not flies on the wall in the Lakers front office going through this decision with them. From an outsider's perspective, we think there are other candidates that are better, right? So that's
this one says I want JJ because all the other options aren't very good.
Okay.
It's sure. Not a great coaching mark, let's face it. But
so that's number one. Like that is a real question. I'm still waiting. We are a month into this thing, and I've yet to see a real reason outside of him and Bron have a cool relationship and they do podcasts together for anybody to try to sell me on the JJ thing. And then secondly, KP, my man, I would freaking out coach circles around you, bro. So like, can't coach without a bathroom stall. That's just factually incorrect. So yeah, that's all. Just wanted to respond to that one too. But yeah, I just want a real reason. That's all.
I think, look, so much of the coaching process, it's going to go on behind closed doors. So much of what we see in terms of how a coach manages players, how they interact with the team, that's stuff that we're not going to see. So whoever they hire, whether it's JJ Redick, whether it's Sam Cassell, whether it's James Borrego, whether it's Ted Lasso, I hope they do a fantastic job and the Lakers find stability. I hope they find stability. Hey, believe. I hope they find stability as with this coach, whoever it is, because they've had too much turnover. Whoever it is that they pick.
So there's a couple of responses. He can potentially be Steve Kerr. That's one from O. Okay, I've seen that one a lot. The difference between Steve Kerr and JJ Redick is that Steve Kerr had front office experience before he became a head coach. So Steve Kerr was a part of the decision-making process for. He's actually the GM of those really good Suns teams with D'Antoni and Steve Nash. Like he was the GM of that team, so he had already had influence in roster building and decision-making and things of that nature. So that's a different situation. Somebody says he looks to know his X's and O's. Every coach in the process knows their X's and O's. David Alleman is the offensive coordinator of one of the best offenses in basketball and one of the most versatile offensive playbooks in basketball in Denver. So, I mean, I'm not saying JJ isn't a smart dude or doesn't know his X's and O's, but a lot of the other guys, if not all the other guys in this cycle, know their X's and O's. So I just don't think that's a good enough reason.
And that's very fair. That's very fair. All right, let's wrap things up there. On that positive note, let's head off to a fun weekend. Who knows? Maybe we'll get some news on the Lakers coaching front. Maybe we'll get some news on the trade market. But I do appreciate all of you for coming over here, joining the show this afternoon. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys had a good time. And again, we appreciate all of you. If you're not a subscriber yet, make sure you hit the subscribe button on the YouTube channel. Don't forget to turn on those notifications as well. And of course, go follow us over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. Have a fantastic holiday weekend. We'll be right here. Yes. Oh, thank you. And Bryce said, hit the like button. Hit the like button as well. Good point there. I do appreciate all of you guys for coming in. Have a fantastic weekend. We'll see if we get any news over the long weekend. Till then, everybody, see ya and stay safe.